Yeah, Mollusk will be 0-4 and still jump in, and kind of put himself down. And that causes problems. But like I said, when he's on, he is so much fun to watch. One of the first games Soar played this weekend, he was on that Circuit, and he was, I think, 7-0-9 before they sieged the Titan Room, and it was just fantastic to watch when he's on. You said, Taco, well, nobody seems to really try to take him off of it. Well, OE is going to be banned out. Circuit's going to be banned out. CAZ did their homework, taking away some of Soar's comfort picks. Got Cullen going to be the ban by Soar.
But there is still the Ratatasker left to be determined as to whether or not Soar want to maybe eliminate that from CAZ, although we haven't really had too much of an opportunity to really see what CAZ is about. Like we've already mentioned, they haven't had a whole lot of success at this LAN, partially because of the fact that they've got that subs that they've been trying to work into the regular fit of the team, and it's always a really tough challenge, even with one sub, let alone two, but CAZ really setting themselves up in a nice position, especially with that Osiris first pick.
Yeah, first selection, just bringing the lane bully. Osiris generally wins lane, and then will translate well to the rest of the game.
I really like that pick. It'll give him that early aggressive solo laner who shouldn't get bullied and should do the bullying, and hopefully it can like stutter Soar with like the aggressive pick.
If Xing Chen winds up in that lane, it almost defaults over to Osiris, but there is a chance that we see Xing Chen on the support role. We've seen that once or twice before. Second selection for Soar is going to be the Raijin, so heavy pressure in the middle lane.
If there's one thing, though, that I want to see from Shaliber this game, it's for him to build Pen third item. I am sick and tired of watching Shaliber go for the super greedy build, and against a team like CAZ, I would not underestimate them, because underestimating your opponent is exactly how you end up dropping a game to them.
Alexa, mid laner for CAZ, will be the Raijin's direct opponent, rubbing his eyes just a little bit. Gonna need him for this game, so I hope he's not too sleepy. But talking about Shaliber on the Raijin, that's a guy. You know, I keep mentioning the journey that a lot of these players have had. Shaliber, 100% a guy that started at point A and is at point B right now. So much better than he was once upon a time.
Yeah, Shaliber used to be considered a player with a smaller god pool. He used to have the Scylla and the Thoth. He has expanded it a lot in the past month, probably, where he's got now 4 to 5 gods that he will be able to play.
What I really admire about Shaliber is his dedication to getting better. And it might have taken him a while, Geb and Soul locked in for CAZ, but at the end of the day, he's consistently trying to improve. We were at DreamHack in Valencia, and he was just sitting next to some of the mid laners and some of the PC guys on the higher end of things, the better players, and was just like asking him questions like, what do you do in this matchup? How do I play this? How do I play that? You know, just trying to improve as much as possible.
Resilience is a really important factor, especially when it comes to competitive play, because you're not always going to have your best days, and especially when it comes to a LAN environment. So knowing how to properly bounce back from those and pop off in the next game or the next set, that's where the clutch part for your team really comes into play. And Soar already, talk about a wombo combo, it's going to be that Najah for Mollusk.
Love this choice. I think Najah is a very strong character. And, you know, we were talking about how Mollusk sometimes finds himself behind the 8 ball and continues to go in. Najah is a character that you got to go in, even if you are 0-4. So, you know what? This might be the match made in heaven. What do you think?
Yeah, I like Mollusk on the Najah because, like you said, ahead, behind, even. You have to ult. You have to get in the middle of the fight. And then when you go down, you're going to expect a lot of damage to fall onto you. But I really like CAZ's picks. They're all really safe picks. Incredible amounts of peel. There's engage, burst damage, tower damage, structure damage, literally everything. It's perfect comp for CAZ. I love it.
And only halfway through the picks and ban phase, still have the secondary phase to go. Soar on the clock now when it comes to the bans that we're talking about. And it's going to be the Ratatasker ban. So if Soar don't take it, they don't want CAZ to have it. CAZ ban out Odin.
I love that recognition by Soar. They know that CAZ most likely isn't going to be playing that Osiris in the jungle role, or at least I would never anticipate that.
Sure.
And so Ratatasker can be a relatively safe pick. It's also a very strong pick against Raijin. So Soar not really looking to take any chances in that regard, but CAZ as well kind of doing the same thing. They recognize Odin as a pick that could possibly threaten this Geb selection, and I love that they want to try and make it so that Geb isn't looking to have to fend for himself in the early game stages.
AMC banned out here by Soar. And CAZ will have one more ban. Something that I do want to note, as Medusa's banned out here, Naja in the jungle versus the Geb support. People love to bring this up because Geb naturally is a little bit more defensive when it comes to ults, or excuse me, to crits. So a lot of people think that hamstrings Naja. Hachiman locked in for Soar. Is that really a big deal?
I don't think the crit passive is like the biggest thing. Since that changed to Naja that makes the ult go off a little bit slower, Geb has been really good against it because he has more time to now throw the Geb shield on the person Naja's ulting. The passive still matters a little bit because if he is brought in the air, he's harder to pick. The Naja won't do as much damage. But yeah, the main focus is still that Geb shield for Naja.
At the end of the day, if you're Naja ulting the tank past a certain point, you got crit passive or not, you're not doing much to the guy with 5 defensive items. So Naja versus Geb, love that point about the shield. Hercules locked in for CAZ.
And actually, I just stated that it's probably not going to be an Osiris in the jungle. We're all starting to have some reconsidering going on because Hercules jungle?
Yes, Herc jungle's fantastic.
No.
Yes.
No.
Hard yes. I think Hercules jungle is fair. All right, you know what? You're the tiebreaker. Is Herc jungle good?
I'd rather have it in the solo lane.
Thank you.
Not the question I asked.
No, Osiris would provide a lot more to a team fighting environment in the jungle role than what a Hercules can. Hercules, you want to let that man farm it out in the solo lane because what is Herc going to do? He's going to buy Blink, look for a driving strike Blink.
Yeah!
But have you seen what's happened to Kakulin when he does that? He dies. That's the important part.
Herc is cooler than Kakulin. Is Inami going to be the hunter of choice for CAZ? And Soar will finish their draft off with Sobek. He'll be the guardian of choice here. Or the solo laner, excuse me, Xing Chen, likely going to wind up there in the support role. CAZ versus Soar, leaving talent out of the way and just looking at the draft. How you feeling?
With the draft, I actually love CAZ's draft a lot. Like ignoring the players, I'd have to pick CAZ, and even including the players, I want to lean towards CAZ.
Right. I think you kind of have to lean towards CAZ on this one. So I think no matter what, inbound here is probably going to go for those guys. But I actually have to agree. I don't think that this Izanami pick really. I think that they're going to be able to abuse the Izanami clear here because there's really nobody to hard punish CAZ in the early game.
Well, you guys, I ask for your picks. I very rarely like to ask casters for their picks, so I got a different question for Agro and Toli. Herc jungle, yes or no?
You can miss me with the Herc jungle. I think it's going to be Osiris in the jungle, Toli. What about you?
I mean, I would expect the Osiris, honestly, but there are players that prefer the Hercules jungle in the PC world. Annister, once upon a time, loved the Hercules in the jungle. Once he used to teammate with Baskin back in the day, they would kind of flex that pick every now and then. So it does have some merit. You know, kind of, they're trolling about it on the desk there with the Blink, but Herc jungle is real.
It's got good gank potential, but I don't know. I just want my Hercules to have that raid boss feel, and you don't really get that unless he's getting that solo lane farm. But it's CAZ up against Soar. Soar need a 2-0 in order to secure their spot at Worlds, and it is going to be the Hercules jungle. FDOT is actually crying right now.
He's mad. He's just so mad.
Those are rage tears. That's actually unbelievable.
He's just getting so red in the face right now.
Well, it's going to be Hotaru on the Osiris in the jungle, so it's all pressure. That's the name of the game here for CAZ Esports Draft, is pressure, but Sora's got good pressure to answer it, at least in the mid lane. That mid-jungle combo of Naja Raijin has plenty of good clear early on.
A lot of chain lightning effects also. There are a lot of bounce effects, rather, between this Naja, between the Raijin as well. Any sort of 2v2 skirmishes going on, we're going to see a lot of DPS output there. Mollusk and Shaliber working hand in hand.
Well, it's not going to be them working hand in hand right away. Mollusk looks like he may want to start this speed all alone. Now Jacob Task get head on over or get right on time for the 30-second spawn time because it's Shaliber and Mr. White together in that mid lane. Heavenly Banner and Percussive Storm working together to clear that wave early.
It makes sense from Soar not to start the solo lane, considering you have the Xing Chen in the solo lane, not the best at dealing damage to the wave and the enemy opposition at the same time. However, Mollusk does want to try to go for that damage, so he's in a little interesting debacle. Do I go for the damage in the lane or do I get my farm? So far, so good. He's ahead in the buff control, so as long as he's able to clear out solo lane, he could prevent CAZ from getting their own buffs.
Well, CAZ solo away that blue buff already on the right-hand side and could just be going for the neutral objective afterwards. Should still get lane pressure up against this Naja Xingqian combination, and indeed they do, so they're going to head towards those fire elementals. Now, Shaliber and Mr. White have gotten some lane pressure for themselves, as Bradley RJ is actually in a little bit of trouble up against Medieval here. No charge prey quite yet, but Medieval is really taking it to the Geb in this lane.
A little bit of waffling from the members of Soar Gaming because they were rotating towards the right side. I thought they were going to easily stop those Fire Giant Elementals, but instead just delaying their farm, switching over to getting their own red buff, fearful that CAZ was going to strip that one on top of the blue that they already got away.
Bradley RJ gets tossed back into the wave, but the minion aggro not onto him. Medieval still going for it, should have some cooldown soon. Bradley still okay, but here comes Shaliber on the rotation. Bradley is going to fall here for first blood. Soar gets Shaliber on the board first, but it's Medieval who sets him up with that Guardian v Guardian in the duo.
Shaliber on the desk yesterday said to us, once he gets first blood, he's going to go off on a tear. So now, let's see what happens. Sitting at level 3, 1 level behind, still going for this mid to late game build with the Warlock Sash.
Yeah, had to use one of his 2 potions, that are 3 potions in total that he brought with him to the lane. Atonement now returning over to the duo lane, but Medieval already has pushed up this wave alongside Mr. White, who has rotated over to this duo side. So Bradley RJ is going to be really, really far behind. Not only did he die for first blood and miss a wave because of it, but the wave that he got plucked on, I don't believe he got any of that minion experience or gold either. So now just barely hitting level 3.
It's going to be a huge disparity as Medieval Doc is very close to level 5, already finishing off those Traveler shoes. So he's going to be able to just continue the momentum, getting the gold, and more importantly, the reason why Medieval Doc is already finishing off is that he skipped out on Bumba's mask, knowing that he would get that solo farm instead.
Smart call by Medieval in order to do that. Now Bradley's still here with Atonement as Sash onto Hotaru by Mollusk, but Mollusk's behind. He's not quite level 5, and Hotaru has hit that ultimate marker. Medieval all alone in the mid lane does need to be careful. So does Jacob Task, who's almost within kill range for this Hercules for Mr. Turtle. And that's what you expect, is to see Jacob Task underneath that tower quite a bit in this matchup, Warrior v Guardian. But once he gets his ultimate online, can get some pressure, that might be a good opportunity. Mr. White has to use the Purification Beads off that blink. Atonement still trying to chase it. Hits him with the Spectral Projection. Good damage onto Mr. White, but not enough to bring him down.
It's all about poke right now in the dual lane before the lifesteal takes into effect. No double glows quite yet, still before the 4-minute marker. Players trying to finish out their boots here. In the solo lane, you were talking about it before, as Jacob Task was bullied onto that tier 1 tower. That driving strike base damage, even level 3, 4, 5, does enough damage to just start poking away the Guardian.
Well, Mr. Turtle with Hotaru is able to steal away that blue buff once more, which is what you expect when you've got a Guardian in the solo lane. Some Guardians in the solo like to really pick up that Hand of the Gods, try and secure their own blue. Do you think that would have been a better pickup here for Jacob Task? He's lost both of his blues so far this game.
Well, I don't think that it's a bad idea here not to go for Hand of the Gods. Hold that thought, though. Mollusk wants to be aggressive. It's going to be a wash, considering Mr. Turtle still around the corner, but it's all about the team fights that Jacob Task is considering. That's why he picks the Xingqian to start things off. Soar picking it very early in the draft as well.
Yeah, and has a sprint up against one Horrific Emblem. It's not in his lane because Mr. Turtle has a sprint as well, but it's Horrific Emblem for Hotaru in the jungle, the relic that slows down everything, including attack speed. Pretty good, especially for Osiris, who wants to really rely on slows, and especially with Medieval going for a Shell. A little bit surprised to see Shell be the pickup whenever you're up against an Osiris in the jungle, because not even without a Horrific Emblem, basically everything Osiris relies off of is that slow coming from his one.
It's also about mitigating the damage from Alexum on the soul. Just a lot of AoE damage between him, Atonement as well, if he can find a multi-target Dark Portal. Mitigating those huge damage numbers, not a bad idea, especially considering Medieval Doc, once he plucks, he's stationary for that 1 second.
Very true. Medieval looking to try and stay alive and keep his team alive during those big bursts, ultimates. And Alexum, you know, CAZ, not a lot of success here during this LAN, but Alexum, to his credit, has looked pretty good during his time here. I mean, his team has not, but he seemed to have learned from the past LANs where he has struggled against North American and European teams alike, and has looked a little bit more consistent so far during this LAN.
He's consistently played the Raijin, and the way he's been piloting it was defensively, more kind of reactionary, trying to allow the enemy team to make a play and then just be in position with those Taiko drums. However, they prioritized Osiris first, meaning Soar Gaming stripped that away from Alexum and heavily favoring Shaliber's favorite pick anyway. game.
Exactly. Shalibur's been playing quite a bit of this Raijin. Hopefully he's learned from the build that really handicapped him going Warlock Sash into Book of Thoth earlier on in this tournament, but we'll have to wait and see. He's already got 15 stacks on that Warlock Sash so far, and Mollusk is here in the solo lane paired up with Jacob Task. Turtle a little bit off the mark with that Earthbreaker, but I like the idea. And the Tolario boots for Mollusk. How do you feel about these? Well, hold that thought. I'll ask you in a second because Mr. Turtle gets taken up to the sky. Mollusk putting good damage onto him, and right on the bottom is Jacob Task, but he's going to throw him the wrong way. Doesn't end up getting a whole lot of use out of that whirlwind of Rage and Steel, and now Mr. Turtle going to be able to escape.
I'm just surprised he didn't throw him under the tower. That's the whole point of Xing Chen and the solo lane. If you can ever find an opportunity to throw somebody under the tower, that's the dream, that's the goal.
Yeah, that should have been a kill for Soar Gaming, because not only does he not throw him under the tower to make him take a tower shot, but it means that he's a little bit closer to Bradley RJ, who ends up getting there in time for the shield.
It also separates him further away from his own tier 1 tower, so Mr. Turtle would have to spend a few more seconds to walk down that lane, which could mean a few more in-hands.
Nice job by Atonement to zone Mr. White off that wave, catches him in between on the rotation, and just boxes with him. Makes Mr. White decide to try and take that trade. Whether or not Mr. White wins it, he ends up on the losing end because he lost most of the wave to the tower, and Atonement has really taken advantage of that Izanami push early on. But he went for the Boots Rush instead of the Devourer's Gauntlets that Mr. White went for. So Mr. White kind of expecting to lose the trade at that point in the game.
He's just chilling right now in the duel lane. He's not concerned about taking any sort of trades. He just needs to catch up in the experience department. As long as Atonement continues this aggression, Mr. White will certainly catch up. It was mostly the fact that we saw the early aggression into the duel lane where, or rather in the mid lane, where the Izanami and the Soul combination just outpushed the Hachiman and Raijin.
Well, Mollusk here on the left-hand side now. Spent a decent amount of time in that solo lane, and might want to continue to do so because Mr. Turtle seems to be going for a more aggressive build in that solo lane. That round shield likely to turn into something like an Ankile. Could be a runic shield as well, which I think would be an excellent pickup into the warrior, but either way, he's not getting any physical defense from one of those items, and Mollusk might be able to take advantage.
Either Ankile or Runic Shield, both is good, but I think Ankile is better because as soon as that pancake flip happens, the second part gets instantly disrupted. You're not going to get rooted in place. You can easily walk away and try to find that reset.
But Jacob Task can kind of just proc that Ankile passive with the Furious Roar from a distance. It might work once or twice, but in that situation, completely agree, it ends up being better. But Runic Shield decreasing magical power by 50 is like more damage than Jacob Task actually has.
Especially if he's positioned right by Shalibur. It's very easy to sit next to a Raijin that's just banging away at those drums. You're mitigating a lot of that magical power and keeping him at bay.
Well, Shalibur's finished off his penetration boots, so this is a great time for him to try and fight as CAZ gets another neutral objective. The Fire Elementals really belonged to CAZ so far. To be expected with having the Osiris in the jungle. Hotaru is not needed to really put the pressure on player damage-wise. Just his mere presence alone has been threatening enough.
A slow and steady farming game already. Mr. White about 150 experience per minute down compared to Atonement here. CAZ, they're not necessarily in the lead in the gold department, but they can really lean on this duel lane and try to force something, especially if Atonement backs to get this second relic.
And that's true, but keep in mind that Atonement went for the Devourer's Gauntlet second, which means that now Mr. White, having finished off his boots, is just outright stronger at this stage. He's got more stacks on those Devo gloves, despite having the same items as Mollusk. Going to use that sash, get up into the sky with that Windfire Wheels. Medieval Doc waiting on the bottom side, as is Shalibur with that ultimate Taiko Drum. Still not enough, but Bradley RJ is going to fall because Mr. White comes screaming in on the horse and gets one. Now it's Hotaru stuck in the middle of every Soar member. He's got to use Lord of the Afterlife to get away, but Jacob Task is waiting for him.
Pulling him back into danger. Mr. Turtle making the rotation happen. Medieval Doc actually missed his pluck before the Osiris ultimate. Unfortunately, couldn't find the second kill, but committing a lot of ultimates to kill this Geb early on. Not the most ideal situation, but walk away cleanly. They don't lose any objectives afterwards.
Medieval and the rest of Soar are able to secure the Oracles. You're right, that is a lot of ultimates to confirm that kill. In fact, 4 of their 5 ults onto that Geb, and that's not going to get any easier. In fact, it's just getting harder. He's getting tankier as he levels up, and Bradley's actually behind right now. If he were even with Medieval Doc, I'm not sure they even get that kill.
It's true. He's not even having his shield maxed out. Just now hitting level 9 after that team fight occurred, trying to finish off a very interesting build here with his helmet. We haven't really seen this in quite a while.
It builds into that Jade Emperor's crown, trying to reduce that physical power coming out of Mr. White and Mollusk, specifically Mollusk, because Mollusk loves to build tanky junglers. I mean, he wants to be the initiator. He doesn't really like to build damage on these assassins. Look at what he does on the Circuit, pure tank. Ratatosker, pure tank. He played this Naja earlier on, pure tank. So getting that extra physical power reduction can end up being really impactful against a low-power god like what Mollusk is going to go for.
Even though he is building tanky on the Naja, he's relying on the penetration that occurs from those ring bounces to set up the power a little bit further afterwards. Mr. White is probably going to have to worry a little bit about that Jade Emperor's crown. It's going to be very difficult to blow up Bradley here.
I like the idea for Mr. White. Looks like he might be going for an early Executioner. We've seen some hunters try and forego that item entirely. And that's mostly in the European PC side of things. Keeg's mate seems to delay the Executioner until very late into his build, instead electing for that third item, Titan's Bane. Neither hunter going for that option. Instead, trying to boost up their attack speed and penetration all at once by going for what is probably going to be an Xe, though I suppose could turn into an early Chinsai, though early Chinsai not very good because that passive affected by penetration, and so far neither hunter has any.
A lot of physical defense coming online. Hotaru already has Gladiator Shield. We're seeing the Breastplate of Valor, or maybe hide enemy line from Mr. Turtle. Probably going to be the hide, considering he already has the Thorns completed. Atonement may eat some poke for his troubles. Mr. White is slowly controlling the lane now.
That's exactly what we expected. That early game from Izanami, still potent, but not ending up to be quite as good. Medieval a little bit off the mark with that pluck, and now Mollusk in some trouble because Hotaru has that horrific emblem. Purification beads used by Mollusk as well as he tries to get away as Atonement boxing out Mr. White on the top side. Hotaru getting low, Mr. White getting even lower. He's 1 HP, but he's going to be able to escape unless Bradley RJ can close the gap, roll out. All it's going to take is 1 or 2 autos, even from the Geb. The Aegis is going to save Mr. White's life, but now Atonement's going for it.
He's not done yet, not able to connect with that Spectral Ghost, just barely escaping is Mr. White, but CAZ aren't done yet. They're rotating for this goal here. They're going to pull it here. They have the DPS between this Izanami and Soul, but look at where Mollusk is, right on the backside.
Mollusk went for the blind shot with the sash, and the accuracy was good. The distance just a little bit too short. Mollusk still has his ultimate, but I love what Mr. Turtle's doing. The call out is Mollusk on the left-hand side. I just get a free speed buff.
Jungler on the left means speed's vacant on the right. Nobody's home, and that's what Mr. Turtle was banking on. Jacob Task wasn't in position to secure the speed buff for that jungler. 2-level difference between these two soul laners. Didn't go for the Onculate, instead opting for that Runic Shield. I like this idea here. As long as he's next to Shalabert, there goes his damage output.
And there goes his damage output. There goes Jacob Task's damage output. There goes Medieval Doc's damage output. I mean, that's a lot of magical power you're reducing, especially from these Guardians coming out of Soar Gaming. And remember, Soar, they need to find this 2-0. Is Alexum going to get hit by the sash and take it immediately up into the sky? Alexum has not been channeling that Disapparate, so he's going to be in some trouble as soon as he lands. Dark Portal opened up, and it's enough to kill Mollusk, but Shalabert is going to find the kill onto Alexum. 1 for 1, mid for jungle, but a good play from Atonement, waiting for that Dark Portal.
Solo lane, a lot of aggression onto Jacob Task, trying to bully him out of position, but he still secured his own blue buff, despite the fact there was a 2-on-1 disadvantage. Shalabert, though, going to get poked out. He's forced to dash away there under that tier 1 mid tower. Needs to catch up in some of the farm. Not going to go for this double stacking item here. Opting to go away from the Book of Thoth. Trying to get this penetration. Probably Spear of Desolation here.
Bless up. I love it. Spear of Desolation, probably, I don't know if I think I'd prefer the Spear of the Magus here, honestly, because the tick damage that's in Raiden's kit with that Raiju, and the fact that you've got 2 other magical damage dealers. They're both Guardians, but you can start making them do relevant damage as long as they aren't near Mr. Turtle, because of that Runic Shield. I think Spear of Magus might end up being a little bit better, but Spear of Desolation still in the right vein of going early penetration, especially against this many warriors. And Hotaru now starting to build into some magical defense as well. What he could go for that on Kile. That's exactly what Mollusk has picked up in the jungle. Mollusk seems to be doing a much better job of farming. In fact, he's up 400 gold over Hotaru, even losing that last speed buff.
It's all about that Talaria boots, right? He hits the ring balance off of the wave. He's guaranteed 1 to 2 procs off that Talaria boots every 90 seconds. It's a slow and steady climb for him, and that's why he builds tanky here. He has the mobility out of combat, the HP 5 to get back into the thick of things. He's not too worried if he's going to be doing the damage, because surely somebody's going to follow up off of whoever he takes to the sky, and that's exactly what happened that last exchange. He sacrificed himself for Alexum, allowing Chalibur to be that beneficiary 1 level ahead now, finishing off Divine Ruin instead.
Interesting, going for the anti-heal. I actually love this option coming out of Chalibur. That anti-heal, so good against the Hercules, who can really feel unkillable a lot of the time because of that mitigate wounds. Even Alexum with that Radiance, I mean, that's a good sustain option for Soul in the mid lane. That Divine Ruin can really shut that down. I always preach it that if you wait on your anti-heal, by the time you need it, it's already too late. Getting it earlier on, where before he even sees Mr. Turtle in these team fights, guarantees that when the time is necessary, Chalibur will have it ready.
And the amount of displacement that Soar really has with Jacob Task and Medieval Doc, that's enough control to really lock the Hercules down long enough for Chalibur to not only apply the Divine Ruin stacks, but also just the damage output necessary to kill him. His build, yes, he does have that Runic Shield to mitigate the magical power, but he doesn't really have much health in his build yet.
CAZ able to secure those oracles away from Soar Gaming. It's 3 Thorns picked up here by Soar, really trying to make atonement unhappy, as there's the pickup and toss on a Mr. Turtle. Good damage onto him. That Divine Ruin hitting, and Chalibur is going to be ready for the follow-up because Mollusk just took Mr. Turtle to the sky. No damage follow-up on the back end because Chalibur is just trying to peel himself away from the entirety of CAZ Esports. So Taru does a great job of zoning away the mid-mage from Soar and making sure that he's okay. Big damage coming out of Atonement. The blink forward, the knock-up. Chalibur has to use the Aegis. Bradley RJ still there, and Alexum is going to find him underneath the tower with that Supernova, but Bradley gets plucked back in.
And now here comes Mr. White on the horse, the boulder from a distance. Mr. White credited with that kill. A lot of ultimates being expended just for that kill onto Bradley, but on the flip side, all of Soar's ultimates were also trying to find the kill onto Mr. Turtle. End of the day, mid-mage for the Guardian support. CAZ walk out on top.
Absolutely, and there's that target focus from Mollusk that just a little bit off the mark there. I mean, you need 4 people, realistically, to kill that Hercules, even at this point where he doesn't have a lot of HP. As you mentioned, and mitigate wounds even better now at stopping the damage coming from Windfire Wheels. Before, you used to have to hit the ground, start the heal, and then get hit and get the burst heal in the air. Now, you just use mitigate wounds after you take the damage, and that's exactly what happens when you go up in the air.
Mollusk needed to find also a ring bounce off of the Portal Demon onto the Hercules, trying to really get the damage off, the penetration to just make him less resilient than he already is. Yet again, still without health, has enough protections, though, to survive, because there's not really any true damage in the kit of Soar Gaming.
No Brawler's beat stick quite yet from Mollusk, and we've kind of been talking about how he's going to build tanky. Brawlers would go away from that, but still may be worth picking up here.
Considering they already have Divine Ruin, you add Brawlers on top of that, and that's going to mitigate a lot of the healing
plus
from
the Pestilence.
Mr. Turtle. So that's a good idea here. You're also having the Sickening Strike from Medieval Doc. All the tools are inside the kit of Soar.
You can really just give yourself 100% anti-heal between the Sickening Strike and the Brawlers and the Divine Ruin. That would take care of all of it, as Alexum is going to be taken to the sky. Good Geb Shield's going to absorb the first shot, but Chalibur's waiting for him on the bottom. Aegis gets off in time. No, it's a Disapparate. Alexum going to have to use the beats and Aegis now, and Medieval wants to continue the chase.
He's going to lurk in the water, going to pop it, but the pluck is already down. Supernova defensively, a little bit of a panic there. He's going to walk away safely under that tier 2 tower, but now it's a 5-on-4 fight for a moment until Alexum gets back into it.
I think Alexum thought that the dash wasn't down quite yet from Medieval Doc, and so he was trying to use that as CC immunity to prevent the pluck, which would have been a sick play had he needed it. Didn't need it, so you're right, a little bit off the mark. As two-man pick up and push, and Mr. Turtle is going to get that speed buff away from Mollusk. All in one swift motion.
That's disgusting whenever a Soul Laner is just able to just freely walk upon you. But hey, it's a level 18 Hercules. You can't feel too bad about that. Very difficult to lock him down. You have to expend a lot of abilities and a lot of time investment to find a kill onto Mr. Turtle.
Well, Mr. Turtle still sitting in a good spot. He's working on the Hide of the Urchin now. That'll give him a little bit of HP, but even more protections. And the rest of Soar have not really had enough pen to bring him down quite yet. And that's exactly where Mollusk is heading, going towards a penetration item. I assume that's going to be a Brawler's Beat Stick. That's doubly good, as we mentioned, because of the anti-heal, and now trying to get some extra pen, which will couple well with that Universe Ring toss.
Just finished that off now. Mr. Turtle proxying between Tier 1 and Tier 2, as is Jacob Taz, both of these soul laners, waiting for some sort of action to occur around this dual lane. Gold Fury has yet to been flirted with quite yet as we approach the 21-minute mark. That's a little surprising considering these team fights have been going, back and forth a little bit.
CAZ, this is certainly the best they've looked so far during this weekend. I mean, Mr. Turtle gets the Tier 1 on the solo side. You can hear Myth Gaming in the background, I think, trying to cheer them on. Myth hopes and dreams to go to HRX ride on CAZ Esports. As long as CAZ get one, Myth goes. But if Soar can find the 2-0, and honestly, Soar has looked really, really good so far this weekend. I mean, they came in as one of the lowest NA seeds. Not a lot of expectations from them. But Game 1 in particular has been where they have shined, and CAZ really sticking it to them. Not a huge lead by any stretch, but up 1,000 gold at 21, nearly 22 minutes is pretty good.
Soar splitting with Astral, splitting with Myth, now sitting at 2 points. They can easily find a 2-0 victory. Every North American team has kind of beat up CAZ Esports here thus far, but CAZ at day number 3, it's something about day number 3 that really gets teams on their toes. Elevate was really able to stick it to Enix despite their HRX dreams being down the toilet.
Exactly, and Strictly Business also popping off on the Sunday as Atonement's going to have to use that. He actually gets revealed. What a play by Mollusk. He doesn't need any help this time. Mr. White going to get credit, but that was all Mollusk right there. Great play out of Source Jungler.
Just able to really get off the ground. This is the hot and cold player that we've been known to see, and he's making the plays happen. Shaliber, a little bit of trouble, uses the bees. He has to go in the ultimate. He's taking too much damage, though.
There's the fear away, trying to get out of there. Shaliber won't get hit by that supernova, but Hotaru might just want to continue this chase. Medieval Doc gets pushed away, and now Atonement is in a bad spot, or excuse me, that's Mr. White on the side of Soar. He's got to use that mounted archery just to get out of the Cataclysm. Does hold on to both of his relics, so will stay safe for the moment. But a good pick onto Atonement. Soar lose a couple relics and ultimates, but don't lose any members of their own.
5-on-4 for another 15 seconds, but Soar don't pull the trigger on the Gold Fury. They're more contempt about slow and steady pacing, getting the Tier 1 tower in the dueling, getting this 500 gold, and stripping away some safety that Atonement's going to have if he ever tries to farm in this dual lane. Not a bad idea, considering that Mollusk might sit in this lane a little bit longer.
Especially with Atonement's beads being down. Mr. White has been a big part of why Soar has surprised people so far this land. I believe this is his first game not on Hu Yi, and he's 3-0, so it's working out for him thus far. A lot of the talk has been about him being a one-god wonder with that Hu Yi, but has not made the same impact, to be fair, that he was in the other ones with that god, but certainly the Hachiman working out for him thus far as Jacob Task pushes a wave underneath the tower. And even with 2 warriors here, he probably doesn't need to be too worried.
I mean, CAZ came in with their homework. They already banned the Hu Yi to kick things off in this first game of the 2-game set, really respecting what he was able to do against Astral and Transonics. You know, the lack of respect that Transonics delivered onto Mr. White certainly received now from CAZ Esports. But the Hachiman doing work here, sitting at 3-0-0, building into this penetration tree. Executioner, chin size finish, now going for double lifesteal, working on this AC.
But you know what? I mean, even with that 3-0-0 scoreline, Atonement's still in the lead in net worth as Hotaru gets the Geb Shield and is immediately safe, trying to get away, but maybe not, because Jacob Task waiting for him. Good damage out of Medieval Doc, but not enough to find him. Meanwhile, Soar is going to get a free Gold Fury, and so it's CAZ that just got messed up by Atonement's name, is going to get the Portal Demon. They'll get Medieval Doc as well. Good damage out of the 2 backliners for them, as Jacob Task now going to get squished down by the ball. Mr. Turtle with his first kill, and now this left side push ends up proving fruitful for Soar. They get gold in a tier 2, but a couple kills and another objective for CAZ on the right side.
CAZ need this tier 2 on the right side. Shaliber going to get plucked back in. There is no boulder to clean up Shaliber. He doesn't have his ultimate. He's still going to do a pincer maneuver, but instead CAZ, they're going to be able to try to go for this fire giant, but into the sky is Bradley taking barely any damage because of that get pass.
But Mollusk will take care of it. Atonement as well. Double for Mr. White, and that forces CAZ off the fire giant. Mollusk on the run, but but Hotaru can't quite find the slow. Mr. Turtle might have put himself in a bad spot. Shalibur's going to escape up and over that wall, but Mr. White is hunting for that Hercules. Mr. Turtle will get back to base in time. But man, that rotation from Mollusk and Mr. White, talk about a hit squad. They come in and clean up that Fire Giant real quick.
All the way from that tier 2 dual lane tower, just not on the same page as Mr. Turtle really wanted to kill Shalibur there. He was proxying between that tier 2 and the Phoenix. We saw Bradley RJ go back to the Fire Giant where the call was made from CAZ, and without that Hercules to peel for the backline, it was very easy for Mr. White and Mollusk to find the cleanup kill.
Mollusk, not the best target necessarily with that Windfire Wheels because of the Geb passive, but it buys Mr. White enough time to get the kill, and that's what really matters. When Naja ult, that's why this tank Naja really works. It doesn't have to be that big 100-0 on a squishy sort of ult. You can just take the right target up into the sky and buy your damage dealers enough time to get in position.
With that first Gold Fury, with those 2 towers in the dual lane, Soar Gaming build themselves a 2,500 gold lead here. It's not that big considering it's only 26 minutes. A little bit of action in the Fire Giant, but Jacob Task just using that ultimate defensively.
Gets pushed back in by Mr. Turtle. Mollusk in a bit of trouble. Has to use a Purification Beads because he thought that Earthbreaker was coming for him. Big ult out of Hotaru, but he's put himself in a bad spot. Mr. White gonna claim number 6 for himself as Shalibur's ultimate doesn't get a lot of value, but a great pluck onto a totem. The Purification Beads gets him out for the moment. But here comes Mollusk, doesn't have that ultimate, but he gets the flip onto Bradley. Nice Dark Portal, but Shalibur's got the better Thunder Crash. It's CAZ on the run.
They're not done yet. They want Mr. Turtle. Pluck not on the mark from Medieval. He pops the Thorns. The Driving Strike used defensively. A 3-for-0. Soar Gaming getting the better end of that one as they look at the Fire Giant.
Mr. White still healthy enough. Mollusk still full HP. Hachimon's so good at burning these objectives because of that Heavenly Banner, giving that attack speed to everyone on the squad. Alexum in. He's got his relics available, but no ult for him. Jacob Task gonna force him out, and Soar has turned it around just like that. They're up 10-4. They're up 4K gold, and they just got a Fire Giant on all 5 members.
This could be spiraling out of control very quickly for CAZ if they don't start holding on to these tier 2 towers. It's probably worth giving up tier 1, less health, already sitting at 50% health on both sides, considering that they have just 1,000 less health naturally. And this is the timing for Soar Gaming to abuse the Fire Giant buff for another 3.5 minutes, sitting relatively comfortable lead here.
Man, Mr. White, talk about a guy who's making an impact. As far as I know, this is his first LAN, and he has been killing it. I mean, getting that solo kill on a Transonics in the set against Astral Authority, yeah, Trans basically disrespected him, but you get a chance to take it to him, and you take it. Mr. White has done that. This Hachimon has been fantastic. I mean, his player damage has been crazy so far. He's 6-0-2. Shalibur really has not been able to put in the damage from what we can see, but a lot of it has been Mr. White and Mollusk teaming up and playing really, really well together. I mean, he's looking phenomenal.
Sometimes a player just needs a little bit of a spark. Against Astral Authority, maybe that's where he got it from. Maybe he also got it from a little bit of the land experience provided from Mollusk, as well as Shalibur, that's been around the block, around both the PC and the console side of things, as Soar Gaming now beginning their siege on the right side of the map.
Tier 2 tower falls in the blink of an eye, and now Soar can turn their attention towards mid. Love their focus to the right side first, not only because their buffs are coming up on the right side, so CAZ get their buffs stolen, but Tier 1, Tier 2, and mid should be fairly easy to take. Maybe CAZ tries to defend that Tier 2, but no way they're trying to defend a half-health Tier 1 tower at this point in the game. And Gold Fury is spawning in about 10 seconds, so Soar can just grab this Tier 1, maybe push the Tier 2, but Gold Fury being the option here is going to push this gold lead to up to 10K.
And now Alexum just finishing off this Rada Tahuti. That's another reason why they couldn't realistically defend those Tier 1 towers. They needed to wait for that huge power spike out of their mid-mage, sitting relatively low in the player damage charts, but it's going to definitely increase considering that there's going to be some sieges from Soar Gaming, and considering just how wide that Stellar Burst is, the damage is going to start to skyrocket.
Man, surprised that Mr. White's so low on that player damage charts. Guess he's just been doing the typical ADC, cleaning up the kills.
Very opportunistic.
Getting all the glory.
You know?
Us mid laners, we do all the damage.
Hunters are hard,
and then Hunters,
it's such a hard role.
And then they come in and they take all the kills and they get all the glory, but that's just this is classic Hunter, man.
He's got a horse. Let him live his life.
You should feel bad too. Solo laners do so much work, and then Hunters come and clean up and get the kills, and everyone's like, oh, ADCs are so good. You got to join me on this, Totally.
No,
Let's
I'm
go.
a soul laner. I'm selfless, man. You mid-mages complain about every little thing.
That's because we get the short end of the stick. I reserve the right to complain because I'm the one getting dove by your kind. Soar, they get the Portal Demon. They push their lead up to 11K, and they've got a lot of power items complete. You talked about the Rod for Alexum. Well, Shaliber has a Tahuti of his own. Spear of the Magus now done as well, getting extra pen to shred through it. That protection from Mr. Turtle and Hotaru and Bradley by him, not only for himself, but for Jacob Task and Medieval as well.
The Fire Giant's about to fade away in 35 seconds, but Soar Gaming don't answer with Phoenixes quite yet. Heading into the 31-minute mark, it's only 10-4 in the kill chart, but extending this goal lead beyond the 10,000 gold marker, it's going to get slowly more and more stretched because there's still one more tier 2 tower, and if I'm CAZ Esports, you can probably defend this. There's only 13 seconds remaining on this Fire Giant buff.
I mean, tier 2 seems to be the call, at least for the moment, because Mollusk is going to take this Geb up into the air, and there is no follow-up for this at all. Mollusk not going to get any value out of that ultimate.
And just got to reset here. It's a really questionable ult. A Geb that does no damage, but Bradley RJ blinking in the backline, going to knock up multiple members, but he's going to lose his life.
Oh, Jacob Task is going to throw 3 members right into the teeth of Soar. Hotaru goes in and immediately gets punished for it. Mr. Turtle now left in the front line. Good damage onto Mr. White. Shaliber going to step up and has to Aegis it, but Atonement tossed back and flipped down. Jacob Task gets another one. What an ult.
Alexum, what are you doing, mate? The egg is gonna buy him a second, but not enough. Medieval Doc with the hot pluck. Soar Gaming, they clean up 4 members. They don't have Fire Giant anymore, but this could easily be the game. It's only Mr. Turtle defending.
Ooh, Mr. Turtle gonna get hit by that Windfire Wheels ultimate as well. Taking so long to do this Phoenix, though. Instead, it's just gonna be the focus onto the objective. Mr. Turtle not able to stop it, and Shaliber gonna try and help Mr. White on this right-hand side. Not going for the end of the game with Bradley RJ coming up. Instead, Soar take 2 Phoenixes and head back towards that Fire Giant.
They didn't have a minion wave under that middle Phoenix. That's why it took a little bit more time than they wanted for Soar Gaming, but did have a wave under that right side, and that's exactly what happened. Cleaning up these 2 Phoenixes now results in a second free Fire Giant. Only Mr. Turtle and Bradley RJ could have potentially contested this, but if they're caught alone against these 5 strong, healthy Soar members, they would take an ultimate tumble.
Yeah, Fire Giant does go down for Soar. That's their second so far this game. What started off as a good start for CAZ has just kind of fallen apart. Soar, remember, need both games in order to go to HRX, and totally it's looking like they might be halfway there.
You know, Shaliber was confident. He was a little wishy-washy on the desk earlier
Of course he
today.
was. That's
He was
Shaliber,
like,
man.
I'm confident.
But you think I could do it, right?
Yeah, he wants that reassurance as well.
Exactly. He's like, yeah, I got it. But like, what do you think I should do to make sure? Like, can I get some help here? That's classic Shaliber, a guy who, you know, by his own admittance, has had some nerve problems on land before, but has clearly turned it around. I mean, he's had a great event for Soar Gaming.
He's probably like his teammates. It's like, hey, Shaliber, we're gonna need you to build some penetration and lifestyle. But yeah, but I could get Book of Thoth later, right? He's like, no, Shaliber, no.
Stay away from the Book of Thoth, and he has so far this game. And you know what? It's worked out for him. He's top of his team in player damage and might get more as Hotaru is caught in no man's land here. Shaliber doesn't even need to use the ult. Mr. White, like a typical ADC, gets credit without doing any of the damage.
I mean, 8-0-4. He's almost been a part of every single kill. In the middle of the pack of the player damage.
That's crazy. He's got 14 out of 15 on kill participation.
He hits hard.
That's
he's got a lot of penetration.
He really does. The Aussie there to finish off the build. Usually an Odysseus bow in that spot, but favoring that extra lifesteal and attack speed and penetration as Soar look for the left side Phoenix.
I mean, you have the Heavenly Banner to give you that attack speed. Maybe a Shogun's Kusari to follow up. The pull and the push. Gonna miss, though. Mr. Turtle sitting on half health. Needs to concede this left side Phoenix.
Nice ult there from Alexum, but a couple Aegises is all he got. His left side Phoenix does fall. Mollusk looking to try and find the initiation again, but he doesn't have his ultimate. Shaliber, first one in on top of the Titan, and Soar might just be going for it. Jacob Task gonna pick up Atonement. He's got no bees and he's got no life. Medieval Doc gonna get credit for that one. Soar Gaming, 1 down.